Welcome back to another massive Manchester United transfer update, because the summer window is reaching a fascinating stage and there is plenty happening behind the scenes at Old Trafford. Manchester United are still working on strengthening Michael Carrick's squad, particularly in midfield, while several huge questions remain around players such as Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford and Joshua Zirkzee. The latest reports suggest that United are exploring several different options at the same time, while the club are also continuing to monitor the wider market. But Reds, this is where things get really interesting. Which of these players is actually the priority? Is Carrick looking for another defensive midfielder? Does United want another creative midfielder? Or could we even see a surprise attacking signing before the transfer deadline? Let's get straight into the latest Manchester United news. Manchester United have reportedly opened direct talks with AS Roma over Manu Kone, with the midfielder believed to have a price tag in the region of €40 million. The latest information suggests that United are waiting to see how Roma respond and whether an opening bid will be required to move negotiations forward. What makes this particularly interesting is the reported situation with the player himself. Personal terms are apparently not expected to be a major problem, with Kone reportedly keen on the possibility of playing for Manchester United. But here's my question to you, Reds. Would you rather see Manchester United spend around €40 million on Manu Kone, or should the club put that money towards another midfield target? And speaking of midfielders, Manchester United are also continuing to keep a very close eye on Crystal Palace star Adam Wharton. According to reports from The Sun, Wharton sits high on Michael Carrick's shortlist as the United manager looks to reinforce his midfield options. Wharton is a very interesting profile. He is young, technically gifted, and has already shown that he can operate at a high level in the Premier League. He has the potential to become a long-term midfield leader, rather than simply being a short-term solution. That is important because United cannot keep rebuilding the midfield every single summer. The club need players who can potentially remain at Old Trafford for several years and develop alongside the younger generation. However, there is a major question surrounding this potential deal. How much would Crystal Palace actually demand for Wharton? So, Reds, let's have your say. If you had to choose between Manu Kone and Adam Wharton, who would you bring to Manchester United? Kone offers experience, physicality and aggression. Wharton offers youth, technical quality and huge long-term potential. Who is the better fit for Michael Carrick's Manchester United? Now let's move to one of the biggest stories of the entire transfer window. Manchester United have reportedly made their position on Bruno Fernandes extremely clear. According to the latest reports, United do not intend to allow their captain to leave Old Trafford before the transfer deadline. This comes amid reports that Galatasaray were preparing a proposal worth up to €50 million for the Portuguese midfielder. But senior figures at Manchester United are reportedly adamant that any approach will be rejected. In other words, if Galatasaray actually arrive with an offer, United's message is reportedly going to be no. And honestly, Reds, this is exactly the kind of stance many Manchester United supporters will want to see. Bruno Fernandes remains one of the most important players in this Manchester United squad. He is the captain, the creative heartbeat of the team, and one of the players capable of producing something special when United need it most. Losing Bruno at this stage of the window would create a gigantic problem. It wouldn't simply mean losing another midfielder, it would mean losing the captain, the creator, the leader, and one of the biggest personalities in the dressing room. Imagine entering the final weeks of the transfer window without enough time to properly replace him. But what do you think? Should Manchester United consider any offer for Bruno Fernandes, or is he completely untouchable? For me, Bruno should stay. Now we have another huge attacking story. Manchester United have reportedly made an inquiry regarding a potential move for Victor Osimhen. The Galatasaray striker is reportedly open to the possibility of moving to Old Trafford if United decide to take their interest further. And Reds, this one would certainly be a statement signing. Osimhen is the kind of striker who can change the attacking dynamics of a team. He offers pace, physicality, movement in behind, aerial ability and an instinct for finding dangerous positions inside the penalty area. United already have attacking options, but the question is whether Carrick wants another proven striker capable of competing at the highest level. If United actually decide to accelerate their interest, this could become one of the most exciting stories of the final days of the window. However, there is also a financial question. How much would Galatasaray demand for Osimhen? And would Manchester United be prepared to make another major investment in attack after spending heavily elsewhere? Personally, I think this is one to watch very carefully, because if United suddenly decide that they need another world-class attacking option, Osimhen would certainly be an eye-catching name. Reds, would you take Victor Osimhen at Old Trafford? Osimhen or Benjamin Šeško? Who would you choose for Carrick's attack? That is a fascinating debate. Now let's talk about Marcus Rashford. The current expectation is that Rashford will stay at Manchester United beyond the transfer deadline, but his future is reportedly still not completely settled. And this is where things get interesting. One of Turkey's biggest clubs reportedly contacted Rashford's representatives yesterday. to ask about the conditions of a potential deal. That does not necessarily mean a transfer is imminent. It simply shows that there is still interest in the England international. At the same time, Manchester United and Michael Carrick are reportedly refusing to give definitive guarantees over Rashford's long-term future. That creates an intriguing situation. Rashford has returned to the Manchester United environment and has an opportunity to fight for his place under Carrick. Now, the biggest question is whether he can convince the manager that he deserves an important role in this team. Because let's be honest, Reds, when Rashford is confident, fit and playing with freedom, he can be a devastating attacker. His pace, movement and ability to attack space can cause huge problems for defenders. But Manchester United also need consistency. The question isn't simply whether Rashford has quality. We already know he has quality. The question is whether he can consistently produce at the level expected from a Manchester United forward. So I want to ask you directly, should Michael Carrick give Marcus Rashford another opportunity, or should United seriously consider selling him if a suitable offer arrives? That could become one of the biggest decisions of the final days of this transfer window. Manchester United have also reportedly discussed a possible move for Freiburg striker Igor Matanovic. Tottenham are reportedly monitoring the 23-year-old as well after his impressive season in Germany. The reported scenario is particularly interesting because United could consider Matanovic if Joshua Zirkzee leaves Old Trafford this summer. This means the striker market at Manchester United could depend heavily on departures. If Zirkzee stays, United may decide they have enough options. But if Zirkzee leaves, Carrick could want another striker to provide additional depth. Matanovic would therefore represent a potential alternative, rather than necessarily being the club's first choice attacking target. And that raises another big question: if Zirkzee leaves, should United replace him immediately? In my opinion, yes. Manchester United cannot afford to enter a long Premier League season with insufficient attacking depth. There will be injuries, suspensions, fixture congestion and difficult periods during the campaign. And now, Reds, we arrive at perhaps the most explosive rumour of them all. Manchester United are reportedly preparing an offer worth around €40 million, plus €15 million in add-ons for Barcelona midfielder Gavi. That would make the proposed package worth up to €55 million. The report claims Michael Carrick has identified Gavi as a priority target ahead of Eduardo Camavinga. Now let's be very clear, this is a major claim and should be treated as a reported transfer story rather than a completed deal. Barcelona are unlikely to simply allow Gavi to leave for a relatively modest fee, especially given his importance and reputation. The report suggests Gavi could potentially be allowed to leave if he personally asks for a transfer, while Bayern Munich are also reportedly interested. But if Manchester United genuinely entered the race, this would be absolutely fascinating. Gavi represents aggression, technical quality, pressing intensity and tremendous personality in midfield. He is still young, meaning there could be enormous room for development. Imagine a Manchester United midfield featuring players with different profiles and abilities, giving Carrick more tactical flexibility. That is the dream. But would Barcelona actually sell, and would Gavi choose Manchester United? Meanwhile, Marcus Rashford has reportedly left Manchester United officials seriously impressed since returning to the club following his loan spell at Barcelona. And this could be a very interesting development for the 28-year-old forward as he looks to rebuild his place at Old Trafford. Rashford has apparently returned with a completely different mindset, fully embracing the situation at United and throwing himself into training with real determination. Rather than allowing the uncertainty surrounding his future to become a distraction, the England international has reportedly been working relentlessly on the training pitch, showing a strong attitude and commitment that has caught the attention of people inside the club. For a player who has experienced some difficult periods over the last couple of seasons, seeing Rashford come back with this kind of hunger will certainly be encouraging for United supporters. What makes the situation even more interesting is the influence Rashford has reportedly been having around the younger players at Carrington. The forward has been mentoring some of Manchester United's exciting young talents, including 15-year-old JJ Gabriel and 19-year-old Shea Lacey. That kind of leadership can be hugely valuable inside a dressing room, particularly at a club like Manchester United where young players are constantly trying to break into the first team. Rashford himself came through the United Academy and knows exactly what it takes to make that journey from youth football to the senior side, so his experience could prove invaluable to the next generation. He has also been reconnecting with teammates, including Kobbie Mainoo and new signing Youri Tielemans, and the overall feeling appears to be that Rashford is embracing life back at the club, rather than allowing his previous struggles to define his future. For United fans, this is the kind of response they want to see from a player wearing the famous red shirt: hunger, professionalism, hard work, and a determination to fight for his place. Meanwhile, Manchester United's pursuit of Carlos Baleba has taken another fascinating turn. Brighton are reportedly prepared to lower their huge asking price for the 22-year-old midfielder, with offers in the region of £60 million to £65 million potentially being considered. This is a major development because Brighton had previously placed a staggering £100 million valuation on Baleba, making any potential deal extremely difficult for United. However, if the Seagulls are now genuinely prepared to listen to offers around the £60 million to £65 million mark, Manchester United could have a much more realistic opportunity to bring the powerful midfielder to Old Trafford. United have been tracking Baleba for more than a year and have long admired his ability, physical presence and energy in the middle of the pitch. With the club looking to strengthen the midfield and add more athleticism and defensive quality, Baleba remains a player who could fit the profile United are searching for. But Reds, there is one big problem. Manchester United are not alone in this race anymore. Newcastle United have reportedly entered the competition for Baleba, meaning United could face serious Premier League opposition for his signature. That could make negotiations considerably more difficult, especially if Newcastle are willing to push hard financially. Brighton are in a strong position because Baleba is young, highly rated and under contract, while the growing interest from other clubs could give them additional leverage. United therefore may need to move decisively if they genuinely believe Baleba is the right midfielder to take the team forward. A price of £60 million to £65 million would still represent a significant investment, but compared with the previous £100 million valuation, it could potentially be a much more attractive opportunity for the Red Devils. Baleba's potential arrival would also give Michael Carrick another powerful option in midfield. His physicality, ability to cover ground and defensive qualities could add another dimension to United's engine room, particularly in matches where the team needs to win second balls, break up opposition attacks, and dominate transitions. United have been looking for greater balance and intensity in midfield, and Baleba is exactly the kind of young, energetic player who could potentially bring that bite to the side. At just 22 years old, he also has plenty of room for development, meaning United would not simply be signing a player for the present, but potentially investing in a midfielder who could become a key figure for years to come. With Newcastle now circling, however, the Reds will be hoping United can get ahead of the competition.